I love monster taming games, if you didn't know that. My Switch library alone is enough to show how obsessed I am. There's just very little in life that brings as much joy as raising silly little creatures. Last year I made a video highlighting some of my favorite monster taming games. If you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out, mostly just because there's a lot of introductory topics in that video that I won't repeat in detail here. You know, monster taming is a genre of its own and shouldn't ever be compared to Pokemon because more often than not it drags down original ideas, blah blah blah, etc. You get the gist. Well, after that video, you all left a ton of comments recommending your own favorite monster taming games that I didn't include in the video, and I was super happy about it. Since I've played a few new games since then, discovered some new ones, and remembered some old ones, I'm back again to highlight more stellar monster taming games that you should absolutely check out. But let's start off with a disclaimer. I have not played all of these. But how can I make a video about them if I haven't played them? Well, because you have. And when I say you, I mean the specific people who left comments recommending them. Gaming takes time. I want to get to every monster taming game that you folks recommend, but I gotta take things at my own pace. I just don't want the fact that I haven't gotten to them yet to discredit them from a spot in this video. Through each spotlight, I'll highlight whether it's my recommendation, your recommendation, or both. Alright, thanks for letting me get that disclaimer out of the way. Let's talk about some awesome monster taming games. In the last video, I mentioned that I think my top two favorite genres of games are monster taming and Metroidvania, and then somebody recommended a game that does both. I picked up Monster Sanctuary last month for Switch, and I have been hooked. It combines Metroidvania progression and platforming with monster taming combat and mechanics brilliantly. As if the gameplay wasn't amazing enough, it presents a super unique world with a rich history and engaging characters. You get to pick your own spectral familiar, ageless protectors of your family's bloodline, and the shapers of the sanctuary itself. I picked the lion personally. I adore this fierce fire kitty. The world is brimming with beautiful areas to explore and a ton of unique monsters to discover. The game even has a seamless difficulty setting that lets you change how challenging the game is anytime you want. And let me tell you, this game can be tough. I find myself having to do very thorough preparation for battles, and I'm always on my toes trying to think ahead of my opponent. A very good thing to say about a monster taming game. Another neat aspect is that the game lets you change between the boy and girl protagonists whenever you want, as well as change your name whenever you want. I love free customization that doesn't lock you into anything like that. I haven't finished Monster Sanctuary yet. The game is huge and I keep finding more and more to do and busy myself with. If you're a fan of these two genres like me, then I genuinely cannot recommend this game enough. It's available on nearly every platform as well, so definitely check it out. The more I look into Dragon Quest monsters, the more amazed I get. They made a lot of these games. I love Dragon Quest, but the only games I've actually finished in the franchise are Dragon Quest XI and Builders 2. Builders 2 actually has a monster taming aspect to it, but definitely nothing like the Monsters games. If you remember when I talked about Worlds of Final Fantasy, a Final Fantasy game all about capturing and taming the series' iconic enemies, Dragon Quest Monsters is roughly the same idea, and I think it's genius. If there's one thing I love about Dragon Quest, it's all the crazy funny enemy designs. I'm a huge slime fan personally. Here's a selfie I took with one. You're gonna hear me say this a lot, but I really want to play these games. I gotta make time for them soon, and when I do, I would love to talk about them more in depth on the channel. For those who have played this series, which one do you think is the best entry point? Please let me know. To be honest, I hadn't ever heard of these ones until they were recommended in the comments. Spectrobes are science fiction monster taming games that have 3 entries, the last one being on the Wii. Sci-fi is not a genre you see for monster taming very often, so I think that's super cool. They definitely seem to be on the niche side, which is saying a lot from an already niche genre. But I have to say, when I was looking into these games, the thing that stuck out the most is that the monster designs are super awesome. Just look at this dude, I love it! From what I can tell, these games have a super dedicated group of fans, which is amazing, but also sad considering they haven't seen a new game in so long. Spectrobes fans, I see you. I really want to check these games out, and I hope they can see a huge comeback someday. When I was a kid, I loved dinosaurs. I mean, who didn't? Dinosaurs are awesome! So when I was reading through my latest Nintendo Power issue and read about fossil fighters, I was beyond excited. In fact, this was the first ever monster taming game I played that wasn't Pokemon. I can't believe I forgot to include it in my first video, but hey, we got it now. You get to go excavate your own fossils and then bring them back to life as your very own dinosaur friends. I don't think I ever beat the game as a kid because I remember the combat mechanics getting a little bit too complex for my little brain, but reminiscing on it, it definitely made me want to revisit. Apparently they ended up making 2 sequels, though I've heard one of them isn't very good. Not sure which one though. Even though I've only played the first entry, I have nothing but fond memories of it, and from what I see people talk about online, it seems like it stands up against the test of time pretty well. It would be neat to see a comeback someday with a new entry on Switch. Coromon is, well, actually not out yet, but there's less than a month to go with an ever-approaching March 31st release date. I've been following the development for a while now, and I can already say this game is absolutely worth checking out. It sports a super charming pixel art style with fully animated monster sprites. The game is oozing with polish from every aspect. It features dynamic difficulty settings, a fully customizable protagonist, and built-in Nuzlocke and randomizer modes. I love when monster taming games do that. I am beyond excited for Coromon's release. It's a definite day one pickup for me, and I would love to talk about it more after I put some time into it after release. It's set to release on nearly every platform, and it has a demo available if you want to give it a test run. Check it out, and I hope you'll consider picking it up. Wasn't I just talking about dinosaurs? Well, I'm doing it again. Paleo Pines is a bit different from the other games I've talked about, but it's still a monster tamer all the same. Instead of raising dinosaurs to help you fight, you befriend them to help you with farm work. Paleo Pines features a breathtaking world with lots of people to meet, crops to grow, land to cultivate, and a community to help out. Paleo Pines is still in development and doesn't have a set release date yet, but it's shaping up to be a super charming and wonderful game, which is why I want to mention it here. It's also a great example that monster taming doesn't always have to mean fighting and combat. I'm happily following Paleo Pines' development and looking forward to the day I can play it myself, and I hope you all might feel the same way. Bear with me here, you probably haven't heard of this one. It came out a super long time ago for the Game Boy, but I don't think anyone really noticed. They never made any new games, and never talked about it again. They just released the one game and that was it. If you check it out, it's kinda cool, has some neat designs, but it's pretty buggy, so that's probably why nobody likes it. Regardless, it's definitely one of the oldest monster taming games out there, so it's worth checking out if you want to see a forgotten piece of history. Otherwise, probably not worth your time. And there you have it, a handful of more monster taming recommendations that came from both myself and you wonderful people. I love celebrating this genre, and I love that there's still lots of new entries on the horizon for it. I definitely think this is one of those genres where indie games thrive, which is super awesome. And hey, let's go for a round 2 in the comments. What are even more monster taming games that you love that I haven't mentioned in this video, or the last? I'm always super happy to learn about more and add them to my list I need to play. Maybe we can even get enough to make a 3rd video in this series. Even if you were one of the people who recommended some of these games, I hope you discovered some new ones too through this video, and I hope you'll check some of them out. Happy monster taming, and I'll see you next time.